Hello, everybody, and welcome into another episode of the Couch GMs podcast. It's Thursday, October 2nd, 2025. I'm your host, George Kurt, joined by the one and only Cody Roadcap. I mean, if you felt it outside today, Cody, there's finally that crisp air out there. It feels like fall. Football is, we're into it now. How you doing?
Sleepy season, bro.
Sleepy?
I want a sweater. I want to curl up under a blanket and just watch some football.
It's the best time of year for that reason alone.
Unless your fantasy team sucks, then it's not fun.
It's fair. I'm kind of in that boat in a couple of places. We're making a comeback in the Couch GMs World Cup. I'm speaking it into existence.
At least your actual team, both of them, are doing pretty well.
I'm a Chargers fan. I don't know what you're talking about. They lost to the Giants.
That was rigged. It's scripted.
Okay, now we're going to start conspiracy theories at the top of the show. I can't wait to see where this episode goes from here. Make sure you're following us at the Couch GMs, Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok to get even more than you do from the show. Drop your questions in our DMs or in comments on our post there, or in the comments when we're live Mondays and Thursdays at 6:30 East on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. All right, before we get any more conspiracy theories, Cody, let's just jump right in and see what's happening. Now, there's so much happening this week between bye weeks, injuries, and everything else that I'm sure we're going to miss something. So if you hear something you want to talk about, make sure you ask us a question either live here or drop something in our DMs if you're listening on podcast platform the next day. Or hopefully we'll hit whatever you need. We're going to try our best here. I got to start off with quarterback news, as the Browns earlier this week announced that they are benching Joe Flacco for Dillon Gabriel. And how are we feeling as, owners of some Cleveland Browns assets with that move?
About the same, maybe a little bit worse for the receivers. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I mean, I don't think this is like, oh, I feel confident starting Jerry Jeudy again, or gonna take the flyer on Cedric Tillman,
who just hit IR.
Okay, great. See, that's how much I've paid attention to the Browns. If you want to still, throw a flyer on Harold Fanning Jr. or David Njoku, sure, why not? I still like Judkins just because of the opportunity numbers, but I don't expect that team to score a lot of points.
And they weren't scoring a lot of points so far, so that's why I agree with you. I don't think it's really a negative hit. If anything, it's lateral. And if it gets that bad, we're going to see Shedeur Sanders. So I don't think it's going to linger on that long. But there's a lot of people.
I don't know if the Browns will ever play Shedeur Sanders.
I mean, there's a lot of people out there like he should have just been okay with going to the Ravens. He'd be starting this week.
Yeah, I just feel like I get why, but the dude was a 5th-round pick, the 3rd-string quarterback. Can we stop having him do locker room interviews and stop making every subject about him? Just let the dude alone.
That's what happens when you draft someone with an aura like that, with his dad, who he was. I think that's just kind of what you expected. And that's probably why he fell down draft boards as much as he did. And obviously we'll see if he gets an opportunity what happens, but the Browns going with Dillon Gabriel for now. And because of the Cedric Tillman thing and because of the quarterback change, I think everyone was trying to get on their high horse when it comes to the Browns offense. And they were saying about adding Isaiah Bond, who was a name I know you really liked coming through the draft, as he got 6 targets last week. And now that they have the hole at wide receiver 2 behind Jeudy, thinking there might be opportunity. So I know I actually added him in a deeper league somewhere where I actually was surprised he was still available. But in regular leagues, he's kind of someone I'm just keeping an eye on.
Yeah, again, I don't anticipate the Cleveland Browns scoring a ton of points. I get the 6 targets, the yards. He was a high profile prospect that had some legal issues, as what made him fall to being undrafted anyways. So he's definitely a talented prospect, super fast, and he could have a role. And he's one of those guys, though, if you put him on your bench, he could get a 50-yard touchdown and finish the week with 13 points, half-point PPR. And you're like, oh man, I really wish I'd have played him. But if you look deeper, it was 2 catches, 60 yards, and a touchdown. So there's a lot of high variance with him as well.
Yeah, and I don't think that's going to be anything we change for a while. So, like, maybe you just let people do the waiver rush and kind of be okay with being wrong if it ends up working out. But in a deeper league, I don't mind going for that. Or if you happen to slip through the cracks in a dynasty league, for some people that don't have as deep of dynasty drafts because he was kind of off the radar at that point, not a bad ad.
No, I definitely like that for Dynasty. And also just like this week in general, like it's the Vikings. I know the Steelers beat them, but they still have a solid defense. Uh, the Vikings are also playing across the pond again. So they've been over there for a week. The Browns are just now headed over. The same week they're making a quarterback change. So I don't know how, like, if the Browns get shut out, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that game could be really ugly too, depending on what kind of Carson Wentz we see. Is it first game where he just kind of went with the defense? Is it second game where he had a really horrible half? Like, I don't know what we're going to see.
Yeah, and don't forget this Browns defense is really good. I know they've given up some points in bunches, and a lot of that was caused by like even like last week, like the Lions scored a bunch of points on the Browns, but it was a bunch of Joe Flacco turnovers that gave short fields when they had to go the distance. They came up short more often than not. So this Browns defense is good. This game could be with Carson Wentz, with all that. Like it probably is going to take 17 points to win this game, maybe
Mhm.
14. Like heck, 13 might do it. Like I don't expect a high scoring game from either side.
Yeah. So trying to stay away from some fantasy assets there as much as you can. Obviously, I'm not saying overreact and like sit Justin Jefferson, but in a week where we are going to be trying to give the best advice we can, there's some situations where you're just going to have to start people and hope, I think, in this situation. I know Cody's in that in a dynasty league where he's basically starting the bottom end of his roster.
Yeah, I'm picking up dynasty free agents to start this week, which just goes to show how good we're doing in that case. But yeah, like you said, there's a lot of players that you drafted high that it's been 4 weeks now, and you're going to have skepticism about still playing them, which we'll talk about in a little bit. There's some other guys that are just in bad matchups, and it's like it's that fine line that we talk about often. Is like when is it getting too cute? Like when are you saying I don't know, like Justin Jefferson, for example, it's Carson Wentz, it's the Cleveland Browns. Like, there's probably not a point where you take him out of your lineup. But if you were someone that had, a bunch of later, like if you have like you're debating between playing like Emeka Ibuka and Justin Jefferson and Omarion Hampton for like two spots, and those are the three guys, like you could talk me into actually sitting Justin Jefferson this week. It's a very rare case, but just
Mhm.
something to keep in mind.
Want to hit a fan question before we get to injuries?
Sure.
All right. From Twitch. Hey guys, you've been giving me a lot of advice. I want to say thanks. Of course. Thank you for joining in. Really appreciate you following us. I was thinking of offering Ladd and JMO for Godwin and Brian Thomas. Do you think this is a realistic deal? And do you think it's a good one?
Can you repeat that? So they're giving up Ladd and JMO for Godwin
And
and
Brian
Brian
Thomas.
Thomas.
Yeah.
Um, so really this is just like which disappointment do you want more? Like, do you think Brian Thomas Jr. is going to bounce back? Or do you think Ladd McConkey is going to bounce back? In terms of value, I think it's pretty solid. I still tend to lean the Ladd JMO side slightly just because of all the mouths to feed in Tampa Bay. And I don't know if you've seen the Shane Cohen stuff going around about how bad receivers have been under him, and they have good years after he leaves. And then this year, he is the new offensive coordinator, and we've seen this dip in Brian Thomas as well. So I think it's a fair trade. If you like Brian Thomas Jr. better than Ladd McConkey, go ahead and make it. If you don't, I would stick with Ladd and JMO.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's a bad deal. It's realistic. But I think I'm sticking with Ladd and JMO in my mind as well. And that's me who's had a very hard time seeing Ladd as anything more than a 3. But like Cody convinced me, there's still targets to be had there, that he's, still getting some decent targets. He just hasn't gotten in the end zone. And I'll even say I think I might like JMO just as well as Godwin or better, just because there's a lot of mouths to feed in Tampa Bay. And JMO's at least a 2 with, even though he's high variance, some kind of a workload.
And sometimes you do just have to shake up your lineup a little bit. I mean, for our league of record, George and I made a trade over the weekend for Josh Jacobs for Drake London. It was just straight up.
Yep.
I need an extra running back. He needed an extra wide receiver. Both the guys have been underperforming, and we're like, hey, let's just shake up our teams a little bit. We found fair value in it, and you did it. So sometimes, like for your own
this week too, go figure.
Yep, exactly. So sometimes for your soul, you just got to shake up your lineup because you're tired of rooting for the same thing, and I get that too.
It's very true. And I mean, the funniest thing I saw on social media today was somebody saying you should keep James Conner on your IR on your roster because he's a good locker room guy for your fantasy team. He's not coming back this year. But I mean, sometimes maybe if you're superstitious, things like that actually help.
Dude, I'm in a league already that I felt I have 4 people on IR and I need an extra IR spot and I can't get it. So now I don't know who to
You
cut.
and I play in so many leagues that have 3 IR spots, and then the one league I play in that has 1, I have 4 guys hurt also. It's like it's painful.
Yeah. So it's tough start to the NFL season, but luckily it's just now October and we still have 3 months of regular season, a month of playoffs, and then that beautiful Super Bowl to talk about. So a lot of football still left ahead.
Yes, sir. And we can move on to the injury report, which I tried to condense down to all the important bits. And if you have any injuries that you have questions about in the meantime, make sure you're dropping them in the comments. We'll make sure we hit it. I'm going to start with Trey Benson, who surprisingly, after just popping up with a knee injury, gets thrown to injured reserve with that knee injury. So question for you. I think I already know your answer, but I've heard rumblings otherwise. Are you team Dave Mercado or team Michael Carter?
I guess Demo Caro, but
I don't know what name you just said, but I got you.
Yeah, I don't really know what I said either. Yeah, I picked him up everywhere I could just because it's fun to like be the guy that gets the guy for free, no fab spent, because it happens 2 days after waiver runs when he hits IR out of nowhere. But I do wonder if Michael Carter will be the better quote unquote running back, and if they keep Mercado, is that how you say it?
Mercado.
Mercado. Whatever.
Yeah.
What's his first name?
Amari.
All right, Amari versus Michael Carter. I can say that one a lot better. I wonder if they keep him Amari more as the pass catcher and let Carter do more of the running. So I think that is something to pay attention to this upcoming week.
That's the reason that people have had the argument for saying it's going to be Michael Carter, because people expect it to fall that way. But then there was also the argument of like, is Michael Carter even the better goal line back? Because Dave Mercado has him by like 10, 15 pounds. So it's like Carter's going to get work. They're going to mix the two through, but I still think the upside goes to Amari De Mercado. So if they're still available out in your league, maybe even if you don't start him, like I also add him in a couple of places where I don't even know if I'm going to start him this week, but throw a nice block, maybe use as a trade piece for a Trey Benson owner if you end up finding a good situation. I don't think it hurts to add guys with upside at this point in the season.
Yeah. And if you are the Trey Benson owner, go get him. That's what I had to do.
There you go. Moving to the Ravens, who have a bazillion different injuries, it seems like, especially on the defensive side of the ball. But speaking of offensive side of the ball, Lamar Jackson is expected to miss 2 to 3 weeks with his hamstring injury. Obviously, that number wasn't confirmed by the team, but I'm really expecting him to be at least out this week. Any worries about the weapons in Baltimore not having Lamar for a week?
Yeah, I think you have to be worried, and I talked a little bit about this on the Monday show, but if you weren't able to check that one, I'll say it again. This is the first time in a long time that their backup quarterback has felt like they're going to have to change their offense. I'm not saying Tyler Huntley was as good as Lamar Jackson, but when Tyler Huntley was in there, it felt like he could run a very similar offense to Lamar Jackson. I mean, no one respected the run as much as they do with Lamar, but this is Cooper Rush, a more traditional backdrop and pass kind of guy. So there's a part of me that's like, hey, I think this would be a big boost for guys like Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, Rashad Bateman, because he's going to want to throw it around the yard like we've seen in Dallas. And maybe just because that's what we've seen from Dallas and he'll come out and surprise us. But I think they're ultimately just going to rely more on Derrick Henry. maybe they'll stop getting cute with these like 3rd and 1s and 4th and 1s and goal line situations where they don't even put him on the field, and they just run Justice Hill for no reason. I mean, Justice Hill had a decent game last week, so I shouldn't say for no reason, but I'm very fascinated in this situation as a whole to see how it plays out. But I would say the biggest 2 benefactors would probably be Derrick Henry and then probably go Mark Andrews, just getting the tight end more involved.
And I know places where I have Zay Flowers, I don't really have the ability to sit him with what I've got available for this week. So obviously he's still in my lineup, hoping for that 10 points that he's been right around most of the season. And I think I'd be fine with that in this case. And I mean, the Ravens, the way they've been running their offense has been interesting because I did hear a stat that they are currently top 5 in first down run efficiency, like yards per carry on first down when they run it. But they're also bottom of the league in attempts on first and second down running the ball, which is just crazy to think where they used to come from to where they are now.
And who their running back is.
That too. It's like, how are you not? I know you have a lot of weapons with having DeAndre Hopkins there now, and Zay Flowers has been breaking out, and Lamar Jackson and everything, but Derrick Henry still has to be a focal point of your offense. I think you run your offense off of him if you have him.
Do you think they're concerned, just like because he's getting up there, and like trying to limit his snaps early or carries early in the season, and wait till it gets a little bit colder and, rely on him more, like almost don't overdo it early because you're going to need him down the stretch?
Man, it's possible. But even yet, like, I think the bigger thing would be they were worried about him fumbling twice in the first few weeks, or for 3 times in the first 3 weeks. But even yet, I don't think that's a good reason to do what they're doing. And if they are going to limit, I still don't think they should get away from what they do as an offense. And then I go back to, like, do you remember 2 years ago, the breakout running back of the second half was Keaton Mitchell? Mm-hmm. They still have him on the roster, and he looked insane in the preseason. And he's just been a healthy scratch every single game. And they're playing Rashawn Ali, who's a kick returner in that 3rd spot. And it's like, well, if you want to take pressure off of Derrick Henry, I still think the best option would be put him in there and kind of use those 2 as a change of pace. And then you can use Justice Hill in the passing game. I don't care. Like, they have other options too.
Yeah, the Ravens are interesting, and it should be a real fun matchup against the Texans this week, as they, got their first win, although it was against the Titans, but they had their changes on the defense, and going up against a backup quarterback, can they keep that momentum going?
Exactly. They need a win pretty badly, and it's going to be tough for them without Lamar Jackson and 3/4 of their defense seemingly. But we got to move to Tampa Bay, where Bucky Irving finished off the game last week, but then this week has been seen in a walking boot and with crutches in the locker room and has not practiced. He is probably going to miss week 5 with his injury. So we're on Rachaad White here as well, and another back that you can probably try to add, or if you have somebody you can throw in your lineup.
Maybe. That's all I'll say about that. I don't know if I'm fully in on Rachaad White this week, although you would have to think the opportunity would be there if Bucky doesn't go, which it sounds like he's not going to.
And then, so I just won't spoil this. I'll let us talk about it later if you have something to say later. Moving to Carolina with another running back injury. We have not seen Chuba Hubbard at practice yet this week either. Word is he's dealing with the same calf injury he was last week, but, quote, it is worse than last week. So, questioning if they're going to sit him out a week to try to get him back to 100%.
They probably will. So that stinks for Chuba Hubbard owners, because when he's out there, he puts up decent numbers. But I would expect him not to play this week.
And I don't know about you. I don't think I'm quite sold enough on, in a bad offense, Rico Dowdle as a fill-in there.
I would agree with that.
So hopefully you have somewhere else where, I guess as an emergency play, you'll see volume. Like, you could do worse, but hopefully you have another option if you're a Chuba Hubbard owner. I don't know where I'm going to go because I think I'm already at the bottom end of one of my rosters in a 12 team, and Chuba Hubbard's in my lineup, and we'll see what happens when I figure out how to do something with that one.
Yeah, Sunday's going to be fun. Getting those, and said the most sarcastic way possible.
Yeah. Wide receivers, we have Michael Pittman, who was added to the injury report on Thursday with a hamstring injury. Never like someone being added midweek with a hamstring of all things. And Michael Pittman's been someone you've been able to rely on so far as a top 15 receiver.
Yeah, that one definitely stings. I will say Michael Pittman's a pretty tough dude. If you remember, I don't know if it was exactly last year or 2 years ago now, where he was basically had the back injury that they thought was going to be on IR, and he played through it. So he's a tough guy, and if he can play through an injury, he will give it a go. But I do wonder if they're cautious with him. I know they did just take their first L in week 4, and they do have some other pieces, whether that's Alex Pierce, Josh Downs, Adonai Mitchell, if he can not fumble the ball out the back of the end zone. So I kind of starting to like look at other options for Michael Pittman because I think they'll play with caution and probably sit him down this week.
That's my guess too, because hamstring and midweek don't normally go together with active after that. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, if you have any lineup questions with who you could fill in for that spot, let us know. And then we have the injury-ridden Washington Commanders, where they did get good news. Jaden Daniels has been a full participant so far this week. Expect him to be back in their lineup. But Terry McLaurin, who I've never seen this before, but maybe it's just me. They ruled Terry McLaurin out this week already, like on their official injury report, but it's only Thursday. Like they don't have to do that until tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, but if they said he was out, I mean, sometimes like even you've heard they don't put it on there. I see what you're saying, but coaches be like, yeah, he's out this week when they have that first press conference on Wednesday or something like that, and it just says DNP, and it waits. So, but if he's already ruled out, there's no harm, no foul in that. But I mean, and the bigger news is like Debo hasn't practiced the last 2 days too. So it's like, who's going to catch passes? You're excited to get Jaden Daniels back, but who's he going to throw the ball to?
Maybe he just has to run it and really help us all out here in fantasy.
Yeah, and he gets to go against the Washington, or he is on the Washington. The Commanders play. What team do they play, George?
I'm not saying it. I'm a Chargers fan. I don't know what you're talking about.
They play the Chargers, who have a pretty good defense. I know they just lost to the Giants last week, but it wasn't like they got blown out. Is the reason why they lost.
Yeah, exactly. But I think it's going to be a good game regardless. But we have to see if we can find some fantasy points that are going to come from that game. And with that, I'm going to use that as a transition, everybody, into our starts of the week. All right. As a reminder out there, bye week start this week. You got the Falcons, Bears, Packers, and Steelers on bye, just to add insult to injury with all of the injuries, literally, that we have going on this week, which is why we're all scraping the bottom of the barrel. And this isn't even Bye-Mageddon. So it's going to be a great time when we get a few more weeks down the road, isn't it?
For sure. And also remember I hit on it, but there is another London game where international game that kicks off at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 6:30 for you people on the West Coast. So make sure you have your lineup set and ready to go. And there's not a Jaylen Warren. Oh, that's kind of surprising that he's not going to play. Now there's a bunch of people with him starting in your lineup.
Exactly. And I'll try to throw a reminder up on our social medias for everybody out there to set your lineup Saturday night, because we don't need anything to happen like we did last week. But Cody, why don't we start with you? This segment, we're going to do our starts and sits of the week at running back, receiver, and then we get to pick a flex option as well. What do you got at running back?
Yeah, so last week I said sit Cam Skattebo because he was going up against the Chargers. This week I'm going to say start Cam Skattebo. He gets to play the New Orleans Saints this week. That's another pretty bad team. And look, he had a solid week last week, even though I said sit him. He had 13 PPR points, but that was on 25 rushing attempts and 2 receptions. So he wasn't super efficient, but that was, again, against the Chargers. But when I see 25 attempts, I'm like, okay, they're really going to rely on him with this rookie quarterback. Good matchup. How many other running backs are getting 20 plus attempts a game? So if you have them, I'd play them this week.
Yeah, I think you kind of have to keep him as at least an option in your lineup until Tracy's back, because if he's going to get that kind of volume, you hope he can find the end zone or whatever it might be. But it was funny. You got quite a bit of flack for the sit Cam Scattaboo take last week. And honestly, the only reason that he was, a solid play was the fact that he just lugged the ball 2.5, 3 yards every play and had it 25 times. Like, it really wasn't pretty. It was just pretty for the people who needed that running back, and then Scattaboo at least put up a double-digit number.
Yeah, he had his second lowest point total on the season last week, so I don't feel
With
too
the
bad about
starting big man.
It's only 4 weeks, so you're
Yeah.
like, okay, he had one worse week. I get that, but I'm not taking an L on that. He got a touchdown. It saved his day. Or I guess he didn't actually have a touchdown.
No, he didn't.
Last week.
If he got a touchdown, he would have had a chance to push 20. So that would have been something.
For sure.
I'll go running back next, and I am going to New Orleans, other side of that matchup. I'm going to say Alvin Kamara. I know a lot of hits been on Kendre Miller. Even I was hyping up Kendre Miller coming into this week, but it's more of like a future ad or whatever I'm looking at on that. It's not somebody I'm playing this week. But Alvin Kamara has still been okay, and he has a great matchup this week. You have the PPR upside with him, obviously, as well. So he's my running back start of the week.
Yeah, as long as he's still playing decent, so I don't hate that at all. But I can pivot us to the wide receiver room or wide receiver starts and sits of the week, and I'm going with a high variance guy. He had one good week so far, and he's had a couple slow weeks, and that would be one Mr. Jameson Williams, the number 2 wide receiver for the Detroit Lions. Obviously, Jahmyr Gibbs there, Almost Brown's there. They're going to get theirs, but they get to play the Cincinnati Bengals this week, and the Cincinnati Bengals are the only team in the NFL that their punter has more yards than their offense. So I expect the Lions offense to be on the field a lot, and I'm not worried about Dan Campbell not running up the score. So
yeah,
at least 2 deep shots to Jameson Williams this week. Not saying they connect for touchdowns on both. Right, exactly.
He just need to hit on one. And that's kind of the player he is. And he hits on them more often than most, it seems like. So that's why he's a decent play. I agree with you there.
And I'll give you one more. He had 8 targets last week. He only caught 2 of them. Wow. But he saw eight targets last week. So definitely a guy that they're trying to get involved. They just haven't been on the same page. So
they'll get there as well. I have no doubt. He's been a solid player for them for the last few years. So I'm going to go to LA. I'm going to put my wide receiver start of the week on Keenan Allen. And I kind of think this is a good, solid matchup for all of the receivers in LA. But I'm going to pick Keenan Allen, the guy in the middle. A lot of people are already probably starting Quentin Johnston. He's been too good to sit at this point. Ladd, I think, has his spot in lineups if you kind of have a lot of those borderline guys. But Keenan Allen definitely should be in the lineup.
Yeah. You keep playing your Chargers wide receivers until they prove the other one. Good matchup. I like that one a lot. For my flex, I'm going to stick with the wide receiver. And this one is kind of a shot in the dark. This is like super deep league. Probably feel even more better about it than a DFS. But hey, some people are out there hurting for injuries and need somebody. We just talked about how Deebo Samuel hasn't practiced. Terry McLaurin is already ruled out. Who's next in line? In Noah Brown, I think, is not playing either. So they're going to have Luke McCaffrey or Jalen Lane, the rookie from Virginia Tech. So I'm going to say Luke McCaffrey. He had the 43-yard touchdown last week. They got to throw the ball to somebody. And if you need a spot start, flyer, ultimate, high upside, there's definitely a really low floor. But I like Luke McCaffrey as a potential home run swing this week.
I like him more if we don't have Deebo. If we have Deebo, I think him and Ertz can take most of the passing work and they'll be okay. But I like keeping him on the radar, so I like that he threw the name out there. And we'll obviously see how the injury report swings the rest of the week. I'm going to jump to questions from YouTube really quick, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
We talked about this already, but I just wanted to let Aiden know, hey, how you doing? Should I start for flex since he had Benson, DeMarcado, or Carter? Cody and I both seem to be leaning DeMarcado.
Correct.
And then we're going to go to Smitty, who said he traded DK and Judkins for Rome and Kraft, 10-team PPR. Rome's been so good that I think Rome and Kraft was a better move.
Can you does he have a next comment? Because it says team below.
Yes, sorry about that. Herbert, Bijan, Jacobs, Garrett Wilson, adding in Rome now. Bowers, Moore, Kraft, Bill, DeMarcado. This is a deep roster, I think. Riley, Harvey, Mixon on IR, and Aubrey. Plan to trade Kraft for someone like Javonte because you have Bowers.
Yeah, I mean, if you're, Rome's had a really good start to the season, so I think that was solid. I think I hate to say it, Z Smitty, but I think I still like DK and Judkins better. But if you can then flip Kraft for someone else, then I think it makes up for it. I just have a hard time giving up 2 premium positions for a tight end. And trust me, I love Tucker Kraft. I'm a big fan of his. So that's just, I think the DK Judkins one, though, longer term might have been a little bit safer, but you took a flyer. Maybe Rome continues his, extreme hot streak that he's on.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. And I think, if you can flip Kraft for somebody else, that ends up being a good move. One more follow-up from Aiden here. So we said DeMarcado. Would you go DeMarcado or Ramondre Stevenson?
Ooh, wow. Let me check their match. That one is tough just because you don't know and, what you're going to get from DeMarcado. He does get to play the Titans, where Stevenson plays the Bills on Sunday Night Football. Fumbles. I'm probably going to give a slight lean to DeMarcado, which I still can't pronounce his name properly. I just never will. But that'll be my slight suggestion.
I'm leaning slight DeMarcado as well. I feel like Stevenson in a split in a negative game script is not looking as great as DeMarcado in a positive game script, even if he splits with Michael Carter.
Yep. And I just want to go back to Z Smitty real quick. Because you just I'm throw your team back up on the screen for anyone that's listening. And if you're not, make sure you check us out on YouTube. But you just mentioned you got Rome, but you also have DJ Moore. So I wonder if you could pair and not rely on both Bears wide receivers, maybe take a DJ Moore and a Tucker Kraft and get someone even better than Javonte.
I don't hate that move.
So I saw that.
How much DJ Moore kind of throws into a trade at this point, because I know, maybe me personally, I'm not a big DJ Moore guy, but maybe some people are.
So, all right, I don't know where you're at, but that's your job as the host to figure it out.
Yes, I was about to do my flex start of the week, and I'm going to stick with that matchup we just mentioned with the Cardinals and the Titans, and I'm going to hope that last week fixed some things, and in a positive matchup, I'm starting Marvin Harrison.
I like it. He got the touchdown. You saw how much that meant to him. He's definitely been dealing with a little bit of the yips. I hope he bounces back.
And hopefully that means you can get a little bit more consistency out of Kyler Murray too. But I don't think he's going to be a stream when we get that far. But first, we have to do our sits of the week. And I'm not sure if Cody's checking for Twitter notifications or not, but he's up first with his running back.
I am. It was something about Supreme Court John Gruden discovery against the NFL. Something that
back to that I thought was already solved, but apparently not.
Yeah, so we're going to just keep going, and we are doing our sits now. Is that what I heard?
Yes, your sit running back is where we're at.
Yeah, this is a tough week for sit running back because there's so many banged up and hurt and whatnot to do. But because I talked about why am I blanking on his name? Brashard Smith for the Kansas City Chiefs, starting to make more of a name. I'm going to say go ahead and sit Isaiah Pacheco. The Jags defense is also playing really well. A lot of it is based on turnovers. I believe they have 3 turnovers in every game so far, or something crazy like that.
Number 1 fantasy defense across the league so far because of that.
Because turnover is very dependent. And I think they have a good run defense as well. So I'm going to sit Pacheco. You could throw Kareem Hunt in there as well, and even probably Smith.
Yeah, I'm not starting any of the Chiefs running backs. They're pretty far down my list of if you're desperate, fine, but that's it. This week, my guy, now I'm saying sit, but I feel like everywhere I have him, he still ends up in my lineup because of everyone being hurt or on bye or whatever. So it's kind of like a fade. Chase Brown. It's been very bad in Cincinnati. They've been in negative game scripts. They can't get him past the line of scrimmage without getting touched, but the opportunity's there, which is why, like, in a lot of places, I'm still starting him over whatever random RB2 I could potentially find, or even like I'm probably still playing him over DeMarcado this week, for example. But I am definitely fading my expectations.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. And I think that is a good way to put mine next one too. And this is not a must sit. This is definitely a fade. And that is AJ Brown. And if you want to throw Devonta Smith in there, sure. But I'm talking AJ Brown. I a lot of people are saying start because of the tweet. They expect him to be peppered with targets. Although the Eagles do have a tough matchup this week.
He had targets last week too. Just want to back you up here.
And the Eagles, although they are 4-0, they are averaging 138 passing yards a game. So just limited opportunities in that regard. So again, probably not like I said start Luke McCaffrey, right? I'm not saying start Luke McCaffrey over AJ Brown. Not what I'm saying. But I'm saying I am concerned about the AJ Brown that if I have, an Emeka, I keep using him. I got to think of someone else's name, an Emeka Abuka, or I'm blanking on the spot here. A Keenan Allen, like those guys that you got later, even a Cam Scatterboo for a flex spot. Like I would probably play them over AJ Brown this week. And maybe that's getting too cute. Maybe that'll come back to haunt me. Maybe that'll be the laughing stock of like when I said bench DK Metcalf and he got 2 touchdowns. I get it. Sometimes I'm wrong. Sometimes I'm right. That's the life of fantasy football.
It's true. All we can do is use what's in front of us with, matchup data, how they've been doing, and just try to make the best educated guesses that we can. But that doesn't mean that the fans and us and me are not going to still make fun of you for DK catching 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I don't blame you. But I mean, like, even like Jalen Waddle, right? He's now the wide receiver 1 with the Tyreek thing. Like, I'd probably play him over AJ Brown. I'd probably play, I'm not going to, where you start to get me is when you get down into like the T. Higgins, Keon Coleman, Stephon Diggs kind of range. Like, that's probably where it's like, all right, now I'm getting too cute. I think the most interesting one, and you probably don't have both, but if for some reason you did, I'm sorry, because you're probably 0-4. If you had to decide somehow between like a Lad McConkey and a AJ Brown, like which one do you want in that situation? Whew.
Yeah, it's very true. Actually, you reminded me. I found the worst fantasy football roster of the year. This is a screenshot from somebody post-draft. Their team was Joe Burrow, James Conner, Aaron Jones, CeeDee Lamb, Malik Neighbors, George Kittle, Mike Evans, Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, all of them are done for
no
basically the year.
They're all gone.
Yeah, Aaron Jones will be back the soonest. But outside of that, George Kittle will be back at some point. But that's where you just log off the app and say, YOLO, I'm done.
Yeah.
Catch me next year.
Yeah, that there's a point where it gets so bad that it's almost like I'm okay with you not trying to play this. Like, they're playing everybody who is coming off the waiver wire as a backup running back this week because they have no other choice, for example.
Yeah. I'm sorry for that person out there.
Yeah. I am on my wide receiver sit, and I'm going with Jordan Addison. Addison had 8 targets last week. He had 114 yards. He looked great. I get that. But you're going against Cleveland. Very tough matchup, like we've said. Still expected to be on the back of quarterback. I don't like forcing him into the lineup. I'm not chasing points, but I'm also saying, like, if you're desperate, you could do worse.
I'm starting him in one league, so yeah, I could do worse, but I hear what you're saying.
I just don't think there's going to be a whole lot to go around, so I'm banking it all on being Justin Jefferson. But I mean, if he hits 8 targets again, never know. Maybe we'll still see something come through.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that one. And for my final sit, I'm going to the running back. Surprise, surprise, as my flex. And just a reminder and flex does not mean that's their spot. It's just our option for running back or wide receiver. I know that can be contradicting if you're playing fantasy flex. You think of a certain way, but is Rachaad White opportunity wise? I hear you. We're not expecting Bucky Irving to play. I just don't think he's going to do much with his opportunity. He struggled in the past. He's had some fumbles issues in the past, and he's going up against the Seattle Seahawks, who are a very good defense. They limited the run. We saw a very similar situation last week, although it was a short week. But Trey Benson came in for an injured James Conner and didn't get to do too much because of the matchup. And I respect the Seahawks defense enough that I am not chasing a Rachaad White start just because Bucky Irving is out of the lineup.
And that's a good point because you're in a not so great matchup. And I think people kind of forget that, like, pre-Bucky Irving, Rachaad White was really not good. I think the complementary, more passing game role has served him well. So if you're going to put him back in there full time, I don't know if you're going to get the same Rachaad White that we've been like looking at with rose-colored glasses over the last half a season or so.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I'm also going with running back in my flex sit of the week, and I'm saying Tony Pollard. He already hasn't been fantastic, and the Titans' offense in general has not been good at all. And now we're looking at the potential for Tyjae Spears to get activated this week as he's been participating in practice, and they opened his practice window. So I think the end of the line for Tony Pollard, I don't know if there was even a start of the line, though, with how bad it was to start the year.
That's a fun name. And if you want to know how bad the Titans are playing, just go look up the clip of Cam Ward because it is definitely worth a watch.
Yeah.
I don't want to hit the is there explicit content button when we upload this podcast, so I can't quote him.
No, you're right. But we'll just direct you to Twitter or wherever to find that one for yourself. You ready to do streams of the week?
Give me 5 seconds because I remember I have to hit a button. We
Yes,
might have just got a fan question.
Oh, no.
Okay. Here we go.
Streams of the week. Cody trying to say there's a fan question because he's trying to buy time for himself to hit a button. That's funny.
Why, hello, Beanie.
Hey, Beans. Good to see you. All right. My quarterback stream of the week is the guy who broke out last week, Jackson Dart, because you're putting him in a good matchup against the Saints. And while I don't think the passing game is going to be fantastic, he showed he has rushing ability. That's big for fantasy football quarterbacks.
Yeah, I am worried. I understand like going after the rushing aspect of that for sure. I am concerned about the amount of sacks that he likes to take. Going up against Cameron Jordan, Curtis Granderson, there is still some decent players on that defensive line. And I am worried, that he might have some fumbles. But when I look at it, like, I think that would be a good stream.
Who's yours that's better, Cody?
Oh man, this hurts my soul. I don't know why, because when we first started doing this podcast, I probably was the biggest supporter of this guy, and now he just did me so wrong. But Daniel Jones, the Colts are legit. I thought I thought the Colts were gonna have the number 1 pick. And there's a part of me that's like, well, maybe they'll just never recover from this loss and they will have the number 1 pick. But he's playing great. The Michael Pittman thing does scare me a little bit for like how much, because he has been like that security blanket, but I think they have enough weapons around him Jonathan Taylor is playing great football right now. And it is a pretty positive matchup this week against the Las Vegas Raiders. So I like it a lot. If Marcus Mariota can get 16 last week against them, then
Jones can get 20.
Well, actually, sorry, that was 2 weeks ago.
Caleb
Williamson have a great day against them, but still.
I think Caleb Williams is still a little overrated, but he played well against the Cowboys.
He did play well against the Cowboys. That is true.
I am going to start as a tight end with Darren Waller. The man was limited last week in his first game action of the year, his first game action in 2 years. He caught 2 touchdowns, is definitely a red zone weapon for the Dolphins, a team that used the tight end a lot last season. And they did say that he was going to get an expanded workload this week, and they're going to need it because they lost Tyreek Hill. So I think it's a big bump for Jalen Waddle to not have Tyreek Hill there, but it might be an even bigger bump for Darren Waller.
I completely agree. I mean, Johnny Smith ended up being like an every week starter, top guy last year as the season came down the stretch. So they traded him because of Darren Waller. So I like that play a lot.
They've been waiting, and I think people kind of forgot about him because, one, it's like we haven't seen Darren Waller for a while, and he wasn't great in New York when he was there. But two, with everything else going wrong in Miami, Darren Waller, I think, helps solve some issues they had.
Yeah, I like him better than my stream of the week, so I would favor George on this one, but I am going to go with, and I don't even know, like, he's played well enough that he is like starting to become, brink of every week starter, but he's still outside the top 10, at least in terms of fantasy points for now, I believe. But Zach Ertz, same reason why I mentioned Luke McCaffrey in your deeper leagues. Jaden Daniels is supposed to be back, but it sounds like his top 2 wide receivers aren't going to go. So maybe they pepper Zach Ertz with some targets, or at least in the red zone, you would think he gets some targets down there.
I think so. And I mean, we talked about how we think Mariota was going to do Zach Ertz well, but honestly, Ertz has played fantastic with Jaden Daniels. So especially if Daniels is down weapons, Ertz is going to be on his radar.
For sure. How about your defense?
Defense, I'm going to pick on the Titans again, and I'm going to pick the Arizona Cardinals. I think it's pretty self-explanatory why that one's on there. The Cardinals defense has been decent fantasy already so far, too.
Yep. I think that would be my top one as well. I'm going to also go the Detroit Lions versus the Cincinnati Bengals. We talked about how their offense has been struggling, and between Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch on the back end, they like to get interceptions. You got Aiden Hutchinson going up against that offensive line. Sack points is there. So, and you got Khalif Raymond for a potential punt return. So all around, I like the Detroit Lions a lot for fantasy this week.
With either of the two that we said this week. Maybe the Cardinals are slightly more owned. I really haven't looked just because they were kind of hanging around at top 10 beginning of the year. The Lions, I don't think are as owned, and I don't think a lot of people are going to directly look and be like, Cincy, good matchup. Because, recently we're like, oh, with Burrow, they're really good, but they've been really bad.
Yeah, and the only reason that they might not be is because people might have doubled up with them having the Cleveland Browns last week.
That's fair. Didn't think about that too. Well, if you did, congrats. I like being able to look ahead a little bit and grab defenses you can start multiple weeks too.
No, that is a good point. And I believe, if I saw correctly, if you want to, jump ahead for the next couple weeks, impromptu here, look at a team like the New England Patriots. They're going to be dropped a lot this week because they get the Buffalo Bills. Next 3 matchups: Saints, Titans, Browns, followed by the Falcons.
Better than that.
Followed by the Falcons.
Even not bad.
So I know where buys are starting, injuries are piling up. It's hard to stash a second defense, but if you can, the New England Patriots are definitely one to watch.
I like that call a lot, Cody. I'm going to move us on to our second to last, I guess, technically, segment of the show. Game of the week, and you still haven't made a bumper, I don't think.
That'd be a negative, Ghost Rider.
All right. So this is your weekly reminder to do that, where you're still not going to do it next week. Stay tuned with us season long to see how many weeks it takes Cody to make a bumper for Game of the Week.
At this point, I'm not making one.
All right. Well, then tell me at least who your game of the week is.
All right, so let's start with this incredible slate this week. And George just chuckled because there is a lot of bad games. Actually, one of my favorite games is the one we're going to talk about next, but because it's a Thursday night preview show, I didn't bring it up. But let's talk about games of the week here. I'll give an honorable mention to the Eagles Broncos, the Vic Fangio Revenge Bowl. Just two solid teams, but I've picked the Eagles already this year, so I want to go a little bit different. And I am going to go to that Washington Commanders and Chargers game in the late window. It was between that one and the Buccaneers at the Seahawks. But I picked the Buccaneers a lot too. So I want to focus on some different teams. I want to see how the Chargers bounce back. How do they handle the offensive line injury to Joe Alt, which was a big catalyst to why they fell to the Giants last week? How do the Commanders come out without potentially both of their top targets, but getting their stud quarterback back? There's a lot of intrigue in this game because there's a lot of question marks around it. And I still think these are two of the better teams in the league.
I agree with that. Two playoff teams going head to head, no matter what the injuries are, I think is still a solid matchup, especially hearing Daniels of all people. If they're going to get anybody back there in Washington, Daniels is the guy you want to see. Obviously, missing McLaurin and Debo would hurt. There's still a chance Debo goes too. And I think if that's the case, we really have game of the week there picked up.
All right. What game are you keeping an eye on?
I'm going to the other game that you gave an honorable mention to. I'm going to pick Buccaneers at Seahawks. And the Seahawks, like, just low key have been a solid team. Sam Darnold's just efficient. He's not fantastic, but he's not bad. Their defense has been stepping up. Sorry about that. So I think it's just going to be a solid matchup. The Buccaneers dealing with injuries. I mean, Bucky Irving being out definitely hurts, but we'll see if we get anything out of Rashad White. And I think I also heard that Baker Mayfield's banged up too, but I don't think his game's in doubt, and he's a tough dude. He's going to be fine.
Baker's been banged up since week 2.
Yeah.
So my only question with that game is like, how far is Tampa Bay going to be down, and how close are they going to make it in the fourth quarter?
I mean, didn't they win all 3 of their first 3 games on a field goal in the last 2 minutes?
Yeah, fourth quarter comebacks. And outside of a tip ball interception, they probably did it against the Eagles as well. So could have been a 4 for 4, like a Wendy's biggie bag.
All right, Cody.
I'm so sorry.
It's a Thursday night.
And I think a biggie bag's $5. I think that's a different deal too. I think that's
4 for 4 is another deal, but same restaurant.
Yes, there we go.
Okay.
I'm not a Wendy's expert.
No.
All right, what we're doing Thursday night preview.
Yep.
There's another one that I don't have a bumper for, but this is a good one that I almost asked if we wanted to switch it to the top because there's a lot of intrigue for this one, but because the podcast comes out, the next morning, I didn't want to bore people with a game that already had happened. So if you're watching now and you have questions, I think it's a good one. But the big news or the big thing to talk about is there a wide receiver worth playing for the 49ers? There's no Juwan Jennings. There's no Ricky Pearsall. There's no Brock Purdy. Do you what does it take for you to play a Kendrick Bourne or a Sky Moore or a
Demarcus Robinson's my pick if I had to pick anybody.
I knew I was forgetting.
Not saying much.
Against the Rams.
Against the Rams. I don't think I'm playing anybody. I'm playing one of them in a dynasty. That's how deep it has to go. Maybe if you're in a 14-teamer dealing with a couple of buys or injuries, that's fine. But there's a lot of guys that we mentioned already on the show, even as sits or as potential guys you picked up on the waiver wire, but we don't love, that I still think I would play over the San Francisco wide receivers. Mostly because there's not the one that's so clear cut number one that I'm confident he's going to be the guy that gets the 7 targets. He's going to be the guy that has the best shot to get the touchdown. Heck, I think the guy that had the best shot to get the touchdown is Jake Tongs. If you need a tight end streamer, go for it. That's where I'm at.
All right. Just throwing some names out there. Okay. Mm-hmm. In this, we don't know this because the game kicks off in 45 minutes. Assuming Michael Pittman doesn't go.
Yeah.
Do you like a Demarcus Robinson or if you want to throw another one. I'm assuming we're saying DeMarcus is the guy.
Okay.
Or like a Alex Pierce, Adonai Mitchell.
Probably going Mitchell, then Robinson, then Pierce.
Okay. Or like what about like them versus Olave, Rashid Shaheed kind of situation?
Playing Olave, Shaheed. I love Shaheed. He's just not been able to get it going because the offense hasn't been great, but the matchup's good. So I kind of intrigued with Shaheed in like a low end having the desperation start situation.
And what about like the fantasy darling of the week, Wan'Dale Robinson?
You have to play Wan'Dale Robinson, I think. Just the opportunity's more there.
What about last one?
Okay.
Travis Hunter.
You get benched?
I don't. I haven't been paying attention.
They've been so bad, and I thought I heard there's like he got sat for like a quarter or something. I don't know. Man, I still might go Travis Hunter. It's bad.
There you have it. All right. Rams side of the ball.
Much more clear cut.
Maybe sit Puka Nacua. What do you think about that? I mean,
nah, I think I think he sneaks in as maybe a low end flex play. I'm kidding.
Okay. Does Puka get 20 targets today? Let's ask that question.
Does he get 20 targets? I only say no because there's so many other guys on the offense that still take some. Like if you're telling me this is a game against the 49ers that they don't have Devontae Adams for some reason, he's getting 22 targets. No, I think he's probably getting 15.
That seems like a good number. The over, are you surprised that the spread is only 6.5 points with all the injuries that the 49ers have?
I am. And I don't know where it was before they thought Purdy was out, but and Pearsall for that matter. Like we originally came into the week thinking they were gonna have Purdy and Pearsall still and got neither. I would have expected to be like 8.5 probably.
Yeah, especially being at home too. Kind of intriguing.
Yeah.
So definitely something worth paying attention to. Sorry that I'm looking down at my phone right now. I was trying to see what if I could bet on a player's amount of targets and what I could do if I did my own for 20 plus for Puka Nacua. Just curious how that would go, but I can't find that. I'm not good enough with that app.
Now, I mean, that might be something that they don't let you bet on because it's a little less clear cut sometimes on what isn't a target.
That's true.
I don't know.
Probably on a different
catches. I know you can, which I mean, bet 10 catches because he averages 10.5 this year and he's breaking a record. So,
but yeah, let me just double check to these injury reports. Is there anything else about this game that you wanna talk about?
No, I don't think so. I think it's funny how I'll bring up the Couch Jams World Cup as we get out of here, and while you look, there's a situation where Bree, who is leading the wild card, is just stacking Rams, and she starts Nacua and Kyron and Devontae Adams in a week. And honestly, this is one of those weeks it might still work out just fine. It's worked out fine so far for her, which is crazy.
Well, you can't say. I mean, she's losing her lead on the.
Hasn't been the reason though, since she's been getting 15 out of one, a 12 out of the other, and then Puka is the best player in the league. Like there's other issues. It's interesting that hasn't been the issue.
I hear you. We'll have to do an update soon on the Couch GMs World Cup. See where teams are, stacking as we get closer. But I was just trying to look to see it. I didn't see any other surprise names. No, we talked about everybody. So I think that means it is time to get out of here.
Question.
Sweet.
At the buzzer, Andrew T. I'll start with Cody. Doesn't get to answer this since I'm facing him this week. Haha. Should I grab Bourne as a flex since Jennings and Pearsall are both sitting, or stick with Stephon Diggs? There's another name to throw into this whole conversation we've been talking about. I'm going Diggs.
I'm not allowed to answer. He specifically said that, but I think we both said Demarcus Robinson over Kendrick Bourne.
Yeah.
But Kendrick Bourne would be the close number 2 there. So
yeah. I think the problem is there's a question. Is it Bourne? Is it Robinson? Is it Sky Moore? Is it Jake Tongs? And that's where the problem lies. It's like we expect him to not be completely stagnant, but like who? Are you going to pick the guy that gets 1 catch for 10 yards? Then congratulations. I'd rather have played Stephon Diggs in that case.
I mean, Stephon Diggs hasn't had the best season either.
No.
And the Patriots are going to play the Bills. Could be a revenge game there. The more I think about it, the more it seems pretty obvious to be Stephon Diggs. So, Andrew, go Kendrick Bourne. See what I did there?
I was thinking Bourne and Mac Jones connection might be something. I don't know if that's enough for me.
Dude, please stack it.
He wants you to play Jones and Bourne. Congratulations on your win at the World Cup.
All right.
I'm ready to get out of here.
Me too. Before we start making, other fast food restaurant jokes or something like that. But we just hit an hour mark, and that is when the show is time to
It's been a whopper of an episode.
Wow, George.
You're welcome.
Dude, my screen won't scroll. I cannot get to the outro.
What else can I get in the next 5 seconds so Cody's screen works?
We got another comment. That one I can see.
Okay, cool.
Only undefeated left in our group, so there's that.
I like the trash talking here at the end of the episode. For all of you left on podcast platform, they're still listening. Thank you for listening along. And I guess I'm going to be the guy that's going to have to hit the button for Cody.
Yeah, just hit the music and I'll do the spiel.
There you go.
Already, I can hear the music in my ears. It's time to wrap up another episode of the Couch GMs podcast. Thanks for checking us out. Hopefully you have a good week 5. Reminder, if you have questions, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, TikTok, all those places, DMs are open anytime. We'd love to help you out. We're live Mondays and Thursdays at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. I'm Cody Roadcap. That's George Kurth, and we'll talk to you all next week.